Hello, everybody. Welcome back into Talking Fitchburg. Joining me today is your city administrator, Chad Brecklin. Chad, welcome back to the show. How are you doing today?
I'm good, Jeremy. How are you doing today?
Doing wonderful. Thank you for taking the time out. Busy time. And maybe there's never not a busy time for the city administrator, but busy time in the budget season time right now, which affects all of the city employees. Kind of give us an update, Chad, of where we're at in the process and what we'll be seeing here, coming up.
Yeah, so you are right. I will confirm with you that there is always a busy time for the city administrator, and I just happen to be spending a lot of my time right now working with our finance director, Misty Dodge, and all of our department heads like yourself on development of the 2023 operational budget. So as you've mentioned, and as you know, yesterday was kind of one of the kickoffs meetings for presentations on the operating budget. And today is day two where all of the department heads will be presenting to Mayor Richardson in regards to their proposals for the 2023 operating budget. As I learned yesterday, or really as it was confirmed yesterday, we do have a number of staffing needs throughout the city. We are a growing community, as anyone who would drive through the community would know. And we did, on just a bit of an aside, got our updated population estimates from the Department of Administration yesterday, and that put us at an estimated population now of 31,817 people, I believe. Wow. And that would be pre-attachment to the town of Madison, which is, about another 1,400 people or so. So we're rapidly approaching 33,000, at least on a DOA estimate. Tangent aside, I'll put that back away there, Jeremy. So my apologies for getting off script here, but with the growing community, clearly there are a lot of staffing needs throughout all of or certainly the vast majority of our departments. And a lot of costs are increasing when we all just take a look around between supply chain issues, cost of fuel in particular, other materials that our departments would utilize and supplies. Clearly, the budget is always going to be a bit of a challenge when taking a look at what our levy limit restrictions are that have been imposed by the state legislature. So we are limited to grow our budget only by the amount of net new construction that we have annually. And Fitchburg is very fortunate to have a nice net new construction of 4.1% to work with. But when you factor in those inflationary pressures, trying to incorporate the results of a market salary pull and a very tight labor market, that 4.1% doesn't always go as far as we would like it to do or like it to go. And that presents some challenges in trying to get to those thresholds. So, yeah.
And Chad, when we're looking at budget, and this is kind of a synopsis that I've learned through the years, and especially that we share, we're on the end of sharing everybody's projects and what's going on. But as far as projects and what's developing in the budgets for the departments, maybe for the person who doesn't see this, the behind the scenes work and trying to understand what staff is doing when they're putting their budget, what are some of the things that are included in the budget? Now, granted, we're not going to go through everybody's budget today, but are you seeing, can you comment on that you see a lot of project? You said you mentioned staff. You could go as far as saying office supplies, but in general speaking, how does the budget coincide with the departments, and how is that seen then when the mayor sees it up to the council and so on?
Yeah, so I mean, as we've talked on your show before, Jeremy, we have two budgets within the city: the capital budget, which is kind of that project-based, big dollar amount stuff, and then operating budget, which is the day-to-day things to carry out the service delivery that we provide here in the city, and also in some regards to carry out those bigger projects and or purchases that are within the capital improvement budget. So what you see from the operating budget is mostly people. I think overall our percentage of our overall budget, which is somewhere around $26 million, if I recall correctly, about 70 to 75% of that $26 million is strictly for salary and benefits for city staff. And then the other 30% of that operating budget is the operating supplies, as you've mentioned. You know, software and maintenance agreements for the applications that we use. You know, if there are some smaller equipment purchases, you know, for replacement sides of things, you know, those would be included in there. If we talk like, you know, computers and, you know, in your case, video cameras and other equipment to help carry out your duties. It could be anything, you know, it could be shelves in the library. It could be, you know, chairs in the community center. I mean, it really runs the gamut of what these purchases could be in order to, you know, make sure that we have safe equipment, stuff that functions well and helps our team carry out their job duties in an efficient and effective manner. So it really runs the gamut of things in the operating budget. But when you start combining capital and operating budgets, you start to look at public safety provision, right? You know, how many fire trucks do we order in any given year or a few year period, and how many police cars do we order in any given period? And then we need the people to operate those vehicles and respond to those calls for service. When we talk about our roads, we need engineers to help coordinate and design our road reconstruction and road resurfacing projects. And then obviously through the capital budget, we actually borrow the money to make those roads happen. And, you know, a function like Fact TV, you know, you and your team are responsible for communicating and sharing all of the government meetings, of which I learned again yesterday. And you covered, I think it was about 280 meetings last year in 2021. So, you know, the equipment that's needed to carry out that mission, plus the staff to do so, you know, that's what our operating budget is. That's where people really see what local government services are provided, is through that operating budget, because it's mostly comprised of the people that help get the work done and provide the services one way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I appreciate the breakdown, Chad. I think it's good to, even for me, somebody who's been here seasoned, you know, I still learn things every day about it. But I think there's a lot of work that happens behind the scenes, and, you know, everything is, you know, we're lucky that everything is pretty transparent in Fitchburg because of what we do here at Fact TV, the stuff that's been set forth by council and so on. But this process it's such a big process. And a lot of times we hear about the end of any budget. You're like, oh, God, it's a budget, you know, whatever. But, you know, it's really it's neat to see where things are, plus keeping things up to date. I think that was good to know, too, is, you know, a lot of it is you've established a lot of things. Now you got to keep operating those things and keep moving those things forward. And do you want to expand on those things? Do you want to take them back? And the staff present that to you. And then after today, can you tell, or after our processes here, as it finishes out, after you and Misty see it, take it from the mayor up to approval?
Yeah, so the mayor, after today's presentations from budget heads, he'll sit down and meet with Misty and I and identify where his priorities are within the operating budget and provide us with some direction there. Ultimately, we will complete a draft of the mayor's budget for him to review. That'll look to be released in mid-September, ultimately. One of the things that we always wait for is some additional numbers to come in related typically to employee benefits like health insurance. So we typically don't get those numbers until early September. So it does hold us up a little bit in getting that budget released with some final preliminary numbers. And once the mayor releases his budget, obviously there'll be an opportunity for the public to weigh in on a number of different occasions through the process. Our alders will have a chance to review the budget and offer amendments to that budget, and then subsequently vote on those amendments. From a timing perspective, and I assume we'll chat about this in future segments, is typically towards the end of October is when we debate the amendments. And ultimately, the first meeting in November is the target for action on the budget, likely meaning approval of the budget in whatever way, shape, or form it ends up to be through amendments. You know, few, many, none, whatever the case may be. And we'll look to have an adopted budget that first meeting in November. which for those paying attention at home, it will be a week earlier than normal. It will be the first Tuesday of November, not the second as it typically would be because of an election on the second Tuesday in November this year. So we wanted to give our clerk's office in particular the ability to focus their efforts on the election on the second Tuesday. So we moved up the meeting 1 week.
That's pretty nice. I'm sure they appreciate it, and give everybody a chance to get out their vote, do their thing, and then check back in for that meeting. And you're right, Chad, we will have other discussions as we move through the process, but great breakdown today. Appreciate your time as always, and we'll look forward to chatting with you next month.
Sounds good. Thank you, Jeremy.
You betcha. Chad Brecklin, your city administrator, talking some budget today. Good to hear the breakdown, and he's got a lot more meetings ahead, and we'll have all the details coming up for sure here on Fact TV, on our Gov channel, and here on the Com channel through TF. We'll take a quick break. More to come. You are watching Talking Pittsburgh.